Just on the one thing that you would say, though, about the environment, and it's easy to sort of sit here and just batter them week after week, but they've got a habit of scoring late goals as well. They did it on Friday night, they did it in the derby, they did it against Southampton, they've done it in the Europa League as well. That shows a little bit of spirit and character, doesn't it? That, you know, when it's going against you, they could easily think, oh, here we go again, and just accept another defeat. And there's some examples of some of the late goals they've scored that, you know, whether it's Fergie time, you know, 2.0 under Ruben Amorim, or whatever you want to call it, that is a little bit of a positive they can take.
It has to be. It has to be the fact that they're able to conjure up the character within the squad, to keep going, to keep believing. I mean, look, we're not talking about, obviously, City's in there, but, you know, Southampton and Leicester at home, you don't want to feel as if you're having to score late goals. But ultimately, once you're in that position, you can only take that as a positive if you're able to overcome that, to score late goals, to give you a chance in games to win it or to take a point. If you don't have that, then it's a big worry within the squad. But no one's talking about positives of Manchester United at the moment because of where they are in the league. And overall, when you watch them, they're just pretty dire to watch.
To him saying at one point, this is the worst Manchester United team ever, that's not going to help the players be less scared or nervous, is it? That's just going to kill what little belief they do have.
Probably, but then I think he's maybe looked at how Ten Hag spoke in interviews where he sounded deluded at times, because we were all watching, you know, we could all see the performance, and Ten Hag was almost blind to it, and I think that frustrates, you know, people, and certainly Manchester United fans that go and watch it live, certainly, and watch it on telly. He's at least trying to be honest, and he meant that in terms of statistically they have been. So he's being open with that. The players, you do know as players, we're not completely daft. We know when it's not good enough, when we're not good enough, when it's not working as a side. But you've got to get together, you've got to stick together, you've got to believe in what the manager wants from you as a side. And at the moment, they've just not got to grips with what he wants. And the fact that they can't raise themselves early on in a home fixture says how low the confidence is in the side to step out.
So the confidence is one thing, but you're talking about the system there, and it doesn't seem to be getting into the players what he wants of them, this three at the back. Now some people, who, particularly those who've watched Sporting a lot, will say it's a very complex system, and this is why he didn't want to be here mid-season, because he knew that he couldn't get this in 2 days training session, then another game. But is, by him sticking to the principles now, mid-season, is he making it worse? And is he making his own job harder in terms of ultimately getting results, because the players aren't going to pick this up?
But you could say the fact that he's sticking to how he wants to play means he can really tell then who can and who can't do what he wants in that system. Now, from his three centre-backs, he needs at least two of them, if not all three, to be brave enough and, you know, have the physical attributes to step out of that back three right into midfield and go and latch on to players. You know, that's what his Sporting team, you know, the centre-backs would step out. The midfielders were able to cope and step forwards. And that it is quite complicated, and you need the players to do it. And you then need terrific wing-backs as well to be able to cover the ground, to tuck in, to then get forwards. And at the moment, it doesn't feel like they've got that. So I feel like there is this system, yet they're not able or willing to really step out when they need to, and then the midfield is a disaster still. Teams are just getting too much space, and players are too good technically now that if you give them the midfield, they'll control it and they'll be at your back three, back four with ease.
So, again, you would accept the fact that a lot of these players that he has inherited that he might not want, and he probably already knows certain ones that he doesn't want, but will have to stick with between now and the end of the season at least. But then he brings in Patrick Dorgu, who plays left side for Lecce, but plays him on the right. What do you think his thinking is behind that? I'm
not sure. I mean, that must be one of the biggest frustrations for a Manchester United supporter to think we want to solve that left side and then him to play on the right. Only he knows, and he doesn't necessarily have to come out and explain that. The manager, I actually thought he had a decent game and was one of the positives from the game. Dorgu, to come in so quickly straight into the team, I thought he was a positive from the side. So you could say on that point, well, maybe let's not worry about that at the moment, and actually, look, we've got a player that could give us something going forwards.
Again, I wanted to sort of delve into the mentality of a striker, because Joshua Zirkzee and Rasmus Højlund are there. Now, a week ago, he played Kobbie Mainoo, or started Kobbie Mainoo as a false nine. And I wonder whether, as a striker, that's not good for your confidence, thinking, well, you've got two options. We are both centre forwards, and you don't want to pick us. But then on the other side, you're thinking, well, if you're letting players like Rashford go, you're putting a little bit of faith in Højlund and Zirkzee to be able to produce performances and improve as well between now and the end of the season.
But they're not cheap fixes. These are expensive players.
But are they good enough, do you think?
Well, Manchester United's recruitment team and manager and ownership feel like they are, else you don't pay the sort of money they have done for these players. And they've shown to be very good at their previous clubs, but they've come in and so quickly, which is a worry, they're a shadow of maybe what we've seen previously. They've not been able to handle the pressure of being that number 9 at Manchester United. And the thing with being a striker is, it doesn't matter what you do. If you cannot score goals, you become a different person. You're not, when you're scoring goals, you're the man. You walk in every day, you know everyone thinks you're the business, and it's easy. And that's actually who you are. When you step away from the training ground, that is who you are. You are Zirkzee, the Manchester United striker that scores goals when you walk down the street. So when you don't, you're a different person on and off the pitch. It really affects you. It builds and builds and builds and builds. When you go out, a chance comes, you snatch at it, you miss it. The more you miss, the worse it gets. But it's the top level. You have to believe in yourself. You have to keep working. You have to keep trying to do what the manager wants and hope that it turns. And then but you need a good environment around you. At the moment, they're just a shadow of the players that they clearly are, and the pressure's got to them at the moment.
Harry Maguire wasn't wrong when he pointed out, obviously, we can't be starting games like that at Old Trafford. The problem is Manchester United have been doing exactly that for a long time now. The last time they scored a first-half goal from open play at home was Rasmus Højlund against Nottingham Forest on December 7th. They still lost. The only goal in the opening 45 minutes since then is Bruno Fernandes' penalty against Brighton. That was the only shot on target for United that day, in another game they lost. Old Trafford lost its aura a long time ago. The theatre of dreams is only helping opposition players and supporters sleep soundly at night. United are finding it hard to play in front of their own fans, and they're probably isn't a team in the land who would be worried about facing Ruben Amorim's team in M16 at the moment. There is certainly a disconnect at the moment between supporters and players. There was frustration in the stands in the first half against Leicester at the slow pace of play, and then boos at half-time when they went in behind. Maguire identified it as a loss of confidence playing in front of a crowd, and that can be a particularly acute problem at Old Trafford, where gates of 74,000 add to the tension. This is a crowd raised on exciting, attacking football as well. At the moment what they are seeing is risk-averse. It is also easy for the opposition to defend against. In a way, that is the inverse problem encountered by Erik ten Hag, whose United side were far too open and easy to attack against. Either way, the end result is the same, and that is a disappointing record at Old Trafford. United have lost 16 games at home since the start of last season and conceded 3 on 11 occasions. It is desperately poor and has seeped into this side's psyche. Fixing that won't be easy. In Sir Alex Ferguson's days, United would often have teams beaten in the tunnel at Old Trafford. The intimidation factor was very real. Now, that is long gone. Opponents eye up their opposite number with relish, and it's easy to pick apart this team's weaknesses, whether under Ten Hag or Amorim. The latter will hope that he can finally put his stamp on this side in the summer through an impressive transfer window and the chance to enjoy a long block of training sessions. Until then, United are likely to limp on at home. Every team they have played at home since early December has troubled them, but Nottingham Forest and Newcastle are the highest-ranked sides in that run. Bournemouth, Brighton and Crystal Palace have all strolled to routine victories at Old Trafford. Arsenal and Manchester City are two of the next three visitors in the league. They will be looking forward to the chance to cause some real damage, especially if confidence remains low in the United ranks, and that could take a while to fix. Manchester United icon Ryan Giggs has criticised the club's power brokers for overseeing a decade of decline at Old Trafford. The 51-year-old, who is now co-owner and director of football at Salford City, has watched as United have struggled to reclaim their perch at the top of English football since Sir Alex Ferguson's departure in 2013. During a Sunday with Naby-style son, John, at an evening with Ryan Giggs earlier this week, he called out United's board for their past mistakes and urged them to support new head coach, Ruben Amorim. Like any business, recruitment needs to be right and hasn't been for the last 10 years. We've just made poor decision after poor decision, Giggs said. Despite big wins against Liverpool and Manchester City since leaving Sporting Clube de Portugal, Amorim's tenure at United has been marked by inconsistency. The team currently sits 13th in the Premier League and are already huge underdogs to secure European football next season. Giggs believes that with sufficient time and backing, Amorim can guide the team back to success, saying we're in a bad place at the moment, but, first of all, I have to say I actually really like the manager. Given a chance and given time, Amorim will bring success back. If we get the right players in and the manager gets time, we will be okay. But at the moment, we are miles off it. We're nowhere near, a long, long way behind, but it can soon turn around. Under the new ownership of Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos, with the Glazer family taking a step back, Giggs emphasises the need for patience and long-term support for Amorim. We've tried giving managers a little bit of time, but now he needs a bit longer, 3 or 4 transfer windows, I think. It's whether he gets the players he needs, the support he needs, the time, Giggs concluded.